Most retirement plans are built around one single thing, a big enough number. Hit $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, and then withdraw 4% a year and hope that the market cooperates for 30 years. And that's the framework most people are working from, and it has a big flaw. It assumes you'll spend your retirement reacting to whatever the market gives you, rather than operating a system that generates income regardless of what the actual broader market is doing. So what I'm building is something a lot different than most people. And today I want to walk you through exactly how I'm thinking about my early retirement, not as a finish line, right? But as an architecture, okay? So here's the context that shapes everything I'm about to say to you in this video, right? The traditional retirement, withdrawal model, sell shares, spend proceeds, repeat, creates a very big vulnerability called sequence of returns risk. If the market drops significantly in your first few years of retirement and you're selling shares to fund your life, you are permanently impairing the capital base. The portfolio that was supposed to last 30 years gets depleted way faster because now you're selling more shares at lower prices to generate the same exact dollar amount. That's not a theoretical risk. I'm not making this up. It's what's happened to people who retired in 2007, 2008, 2000, 1973. The timing of a bad market relative to when you start withdrawing is one of the most underappreciated risks in retirement planning, in my personal opinion. And the solution most people turn to is asset allocation. More bonds as you age, lower equity exposure, reduce that volatility, but that also reduces growth and obviously is going to reduce your income. You end up with a safer looking portfolio that literally can't keep up with inflation over a 30-year retirement, let's say. So what I'm working towards is a completely different model, okay? I'm designing a portfolio that generates enough cash flow from multiple income streams that I rarely, if ever, need to sell anything. The income pays for my life. The underlying assets can stay invested and they continue to compound. And that's the problem I'm personally trying to solve for myself. The framework I use is 3 layers, each doing a completely distinct job. Layer 1 is the income floor. This is passive, consistent. It literally requires no active management. It shows up in my accounts whether I'm paying attention on any given day. ETF distributions, obviously from my dividend focused and covered call funds, think JEPI, JEPQ, SCHD, form this layer, right? The floor doesn't need to cover 100% of my expenses. It needs to just cover enough that the active layer fills the gap without requiring large urgent decisions under pressure, okay? Layer 2 is the active options layer, cash secured puts, covered calls on individual stocks, and broader market ETFs. This layer requires time, maybe a few hours a week, if that, and produces income that's variable, but it's systematic, right? In high volatility environments, it produces a lot more income. In quiet markets, obviously less. Over a full year, it smooths out. And this is where real income amplification really happens on top of the floor. Layer 3 is the liquidity backstop, cash, short-term duration instruments, and capital not currently deployed in obviously options positions. This isn't idle money, it's the shock absorber, right? If a bad market quarter compresses options premium and reduces, let's say layer 2 income, the liquidity backstop covers the gap without forcing me to alter the strategy or sell long-term positions that I want to hold, right? And those 3 layers together create the architecture that I'm building, okay? So let me walk you through each position and within the function. So first we got JEPI, JEPQ, right? This is monthly really cash flow generation. These 2 form the core of my income floor, right? JEPI generates monthly distributions from a covered call overlay on lower volatility portfolio of S&P 500 stocks, right? JEPQ does the same exact thing, but on NASDAQ 100, right? Current yield on JEPI around 7 to 9%, depending obviously totally on volatility conditions, and JEPQ tends to run slightly higher because the NASDAQ carries way more implied volatility, which obviously produces richer options premiums for us. What matters for early retirement, specifically for me, is these distributions, they arrive monthly without requiring any action on my part. They're completely passive in the truest sense. I'm not choosing which calls to sell or when to roll. The fund handles all of the mechanics. My job is to hold the position and let the distributions accumulate or redeploy as needed. right? The limitation though, and this is worth, being honest about, is that both funds, they do sacrifice that upside participation in strong bull markets, right? The covered call overlay caps appreciation for an early retiree with 25 to 30 years on the horizon. That cap is a big cost, right? These are not growth vehicles. I pair them with positions that do capture the appreciation. One thing I also like to do on these income ETFs at times is sell covered calls on top of them on a monthly basis to generate even additional income. If you want to learn more about that, click the first link in the description of today's video. There's a 90-minute training class on exactly that strategy. Next is SCHD, right? The long-term compounder, right? SCHD serves a different function from JEPI and JEPQ. Its yield is obviously lower, 3.5% to 4%, but it distributes from actual company dividends rather than options premium, and its NAV has historically appreciated over time rather than eroding, right? For early retirement, SCHD is the position that I expect to look materially different in 15 to 20 years than it does today. Its dividend growth rate has averaged over 11% annually since its inception. And that means a position that yields 3.5% today on my cost basis could yield 6, 7, 8% on that same cost basis a decade from now, okay? With literally out me adding any more capital. That compounding makes SCHD the anchor of the long-term income floor. It also serves as the, really the counterbalance to my more volatile positions that I'm doing, right? When tech-heavy names in the options layer get choppy, SCHD's defensive sector exposure tends to hold more steadily for me. All right, now let's talk about covered calls on SPY and QQQ. This is where really the active options layer starts for me. SPY and QQQ are the most liquid options markets available to us retail investors. Very nice tight bid-ask spreads, deep change, consistent premium environments. Running covered calls on these positions gives me a great broad market exposure with an income overlay that I have full control of. The specific mechanics I use, 30 to 45 day expiration, strike 3 to 5% out of the money depending on premium availability and my willingness to be called away, of course. In a volatile period, those strikes generate meaningful premium. In a quieter market, I accept lower premium and I extend duration slightly just to capture more of that time value, right? The distinction here though between running covered calls on let's say SPY and QQQ versus selling puts on individual stocks, right? The index positions are way more conservative, right? And they're more consistent part of the active layer. Individual stock positions, they carry more risk, but generate way richer premiums with the right setups, which leads us to that point, individual stocks and running the wheel strategy, right? The individual stock component is where I'm most selective, right? I run only the wheel on businesses that I've analyzed the fundamentals of and would be comfortable holding through a 12 to 18 month period of assignment. The premium needs to be meaningful though, enough for that capital deployment to actually make sense, and the stock needs to be liquid enough that the options chain doesn't have a huge wide bid-ask spread that gets eaten into your actual return. This is why I built ArkPicks.com. These positions change more frequently than the ETF holdings. A specific setup might run for 6 months and then the stock moves out of the range where it makes sense as a wheel candidate. And that's fine, right? The individual stock layer is definitely more opportunistic by design. And I'm not permanently allocated to any specific names, even though I love dividend kings and dividend aristocrats. And as I mentioned, I use ArkPicks.com primarily to track all of my ETFs as well as my individual stocks to find the best setups for me on that particular trading day. And you can use coupon code 25OFF to get 25% off your membership at ArkPicks.com. Plus, you'll get a bunch of other free goodies along with your membership. So here's what this architecture is really trying to accomplish here for me, right? Early retirement doesn't work if it's fragile, right? A plan that functions perfectly in a bull market and breaks in a bear market is not a retirement plan. It's a sequence of returns risk waiting to materialize, okay? The layered approach that I've described here today is designed specifically so that no single condition can break the whole thing simultaneously, which is the last thing we want, right? If volatility collapses and options premium compresses, the income flow from JEPI, JEPQ, SCHD continues producing distributions for me. If dividend paying stocks start to underperform, the options premium from the active layer, they at least compensate for me. If I'm assigned on multiple individual stock positions, at once and capital is really tied up for me, the liquidity backstop prevents me from making forced decisions. None of these layers is redundant, in my opinion. Each one behaves differently in different market conditions, and that's the whole point. The architecture absorbs shocks rather than, transmitting them through the whole portfolio. The other thing worth saying is this is a dynamic system. It's not a static allocation that I set once and forget. The individual stock positions, they change all the time. The sizing across layers adjust as market conditions evolve. What stays constant is the structure. 3 layers, each doing its job, no single point of failure. Now look, I'm not retired yet. I'm still building this architecture while maintaining business, work, and I think that's actually the right order of operations, right? Build the system during accumulation so that by the time I do step away, right, from business or employment, not that I ever think I will, the 3 layers are already established for me. They're tested, they're large enough to carry that weight. What I'm optimizing for right now is not maximum income today. It's durability. Every decision that I make is filtered through one question. Does this make the system more resilient, or does it just make the current number look better? And those are different things, and chasing the number often compromises the resilience of your portfolio. I also think about, honestly, like a lot of the psychological stuff of this, right? A retirement portfolio that requires you to constantly monitor markets, make urgent decisions and stress about monthly income swings is not actually restful, right? The passive floor exists so that even a period where I don't want to look at a screen, let's say traveling, dealing with family, whatever, right? The income doesn't stop. That peace of mind is part of what I'm building, not just the actual dollar amount. So I got a couple questions for you guys in the comments. We always have great conversations in there. Number one, are you building your retirement around a number or around an income architecture? And I'm genuinely curious how many people have made that mental shift, okay? And number two, what does your income floor look like right now? And what do you think is missing from it? And if you want to take your education a step further, I want to invite you to a 90-minute workshop. It's called the Ark Options Workshop, where I dive into all of this a lot more in depth over an hour and a half. And plus, I give you a bunch of free stuff at the end, my free trade log templates, my free premium calculators as well. That way you can walk away with not just the education, but the tools to actually set this all up for yourself. So click that first link in the description of today's video, guys. Remember, sell options, collect premiums, repeat. I'll see y'all tomorrow.